Hi guys, thanks for tuning in to another episode of Nuggets News. Well, another truly amazing week. We've got so much macro news and crypto news to get through. A lot of that is intertwined these days, so I do encourage you to watch the full video. We welcome a couple of thousand new subscribers. Thanks so much for following us. We're trying to give you the most up-to-date information. We've got literally thousands of people contacting us through all our channels, wanting to know how to learn about gold and silver, Bitcoin, cryptocurrency, what is going on in the economy. So we've got all these free resources on our website, guys. So send friends and family there. All your favorite videos, this video, we encourage you to share all that content. That's why we've been busy making it all for you for the past few years for these types of situations. Particularly a big thank you to our members. Like all businesses, we are reliant on you for our revenue, and I employ 13 people now, and I need that money coming in to keep them employed, to keep giving you guys the best content. So huge thank you. 58 new members in our premium area. Read that welcome post, guys. Stick by the rules. It's all functioning really well for the most up-to-date information, to the minute type updates from everything around the world. And I can't thank you guys enough for the way that it's all running at the moment. Let's get into the local news first, where Prime Minister Scott Morrison's just gone live. He's unveiled a far bigger stimulus package. I'm all for anything that gets money in the hands of people that are losing their jobs. We just need to make sure that people can get by. And I know a lot of people are still seeing this as, well, how do I keep my business going and this, that, and the other. But guys, the reality is businesses are going to close. It's going to be bad. This is what I've been talking about. A lot of people have never had a rainy day, and we need to acknowledge that, let's support people. Let's make sure there's food on the table. They don't have to pay their rent, their mortgage, their power bills. We need to just, do everything we can to get by until this all passes, and it will pass. So I'm not going to go into all the details of that package. We're going to go through all the different countries and what they've done. So I'll let you guys read the details of those specifics. But I certainly think there's been, mistruths pushed by the media. So look at these stats again from today, from CoreLogic and all of the real estate industry, telling us that house prices are still going up by the day. I mean, who on earth believes this stuff? And we know that it's all connected, particularly in Australia, where we need to protect house prices from going down. That's very hard to do when people start losing their jobs and have a lot of investment properties, because it's all connected. And our banks are the most exposed in the world in terms of their mortgage books. So yes, the government are going to do everything they can to rescue the banks. We've seen all these excuses around the world now encouraging people not to take out cash, or telling you the reasons why you can't even spend your own cash. So look, these things are to be expected. If you've been following the channel, we've been saying this is going to happen, and it's just happened probably faster than we thought because of these recent catalysts. So earlier this week, a lot of super funds, including Australia's largest super fund, sent out emails to clients basically saying that, markets go up and down. You have to really ask yourself if it's work taking these unnecessary risks and trading your super assets. So a bit of a typo there. That tells you that was rushed and panicked and telling people not to sell. Markets are since down another 15%, and I know a lot of people with their super fund are hurting at the moment. I certainly feel for you guys. The RBA are coming out, and they're going to have to print this money and buy up bonds. The next step is obviously corporate bonds, and then stocks, mortgage-backed securities in other countries. It is just insane, the level of stimulus that we're seeing at the moment. And obviously, Bitcoin and gold are the two things they can't print. We'll get to that in just a second. But all this leads to the collapse of the Aussie dollar, down to 55 cents. You can't quite see that behind me there, sorry. This is one of the side effects of our economy that I've been warning about since we made our documentary over a year ago. And this pushes up yields. So when the government is now issuing debt, because governments are going to run up huge debts, and they're issuing these bonds trying to get people to give them money. But people aren't going to give them money when they know the economy's in trouble. And this is when interest rates rise. And that's when central banks might be forced to raise interest rates. And that is just the nightmare scenario, having to raise interest rates while everyone's got all this debt. This situation is really messy, and that's why everyone is looking to escape into these perceived safe havens. So look, good timing over in Italy, where some of those banks are opening up Bitcoin trading, 1.2 million during lockdown. So these are the options, the on-ramps that we've been talking about that are now really global for people to escape the crumbling financial system. I did a detailed video on that, all the different options you have to get into US dollars, gold and silver, Bitcoin, stable coins, the counterparty risks of each of those. So watch that video, share it with friends and family if you haven't already. FTX have got 2 gold stable coins, XAUT and PAXG is the other one. Over there, and they've also recently added Aussie dollars as an on-ramp. So you can connect your bank account, and it's a very quick way to get into US dollars or stable coins, and then you can withdraw those and keep them on your hardware wallet or your ledger, as well as the other tutorials I've done recently on how to hedge if you've got your gold and silver holdings or Bitcoin holdings as well. There's ways to hedge with their other products. All right, so a lot of you that are managing your own money are very happy right about now when we're hearing all these stories about super funds and the delays. We've had a record amount of people start to manage their own self-managed super fund. So I'm going to get Mike on this week because there's a lot of questions now about can we withdraw from our super fund, another thing that the government announced today. So hopefully we can address all those questions really clearly. One thing I will mention with that announcement from the government is that if people are withdrawing that $10,000 or more from their super, you got to remember the stock market is down. It's probably going to keep going down. So all that money that you're withdrawing now, could be more down the road. Now, some people don't believe we're going to have retirement funds in decades from now, but that can start more of a selling because traders and investors are going to say, well, everyone's going to be selling to take money out of their super. I'm going to front run that selling. And so that can, I just think it's coming together. There's nothing that is going to make markets go higher anytime soon until this all passes. So that's the financial side of things. In terms of the healthcare side of things, I thought our government were going to announce more measures on Friday. They've come out again today and extended things, encouraging people not to do non-essential travel, but it's still not really enforcing any of this. It's up to you as the individual. Just like no one's going to save you from the world of finance, no one's going to make you healthy, and no one is going to protect you and look after you guys. You have to take, that responsibility yourself. And a lot of you guys know that. You've been following the channel. You're prepared for everything that's happening now. So yes, schools still aren't closed. There's talk as I'm recording of New South Wales and Victoria looking to implement that in the next 48 hours. As soon as one state does it, they're probably all going to follow. But yeah, I'm certainly surprised. Giving everything that's happening, firstly on Friday it was 1 cruise ship. Now it's 5 separate cruises that have all had confirmed cases. Those people are scattered throughout Australia. We haven't really seen that spike yet, but if this doesn't scare you, nothing will. This is a beach on Italy 12 days ago. This is absolutely reminiscent of what we're seeing in Australia. Down here in Tassie, I spoke to friends. They went for a walk this morning. All the restaurants are packed. All the bars are packed. No one's taking this seriously yet. And no one was taking it seriously in Italy 12 days ago. Just have a look at where they are now. These excuses that we're hearing, it's only old people. 54% of New York City's cases are between 18 and 49-year-olds. So it is not just affecting old people at all. We've now got cases of babies as young as 7 months old and children that are getting this. So please, guys, you have to realize the severity of what's going on at the moment. I'll just press refresh here. There's a couple of websites giving us up-to-date information on the Australian statistics, but this is just growing continually, 20% a day, exponentially. We haven't even slowed it yet. Mathematically, we are still on track to hit the number that is going to overwhelm our hospitals unless we slow this down. So we're not quite as bad as Italy and Iran. We're somewhere in the middle here. We are certainly not down here near Singapore, and we're not flattening the curve like the government is telling us that they're really happy with the job they've done. So look, a couple of positives here. covidhelp.com.au. This is a website built by one of our friends. It lists all the freebies and the help, how you can help other people, charities. Check that out. In the time of need, we've got to come together and help each other. Globally, let's just refresh that. 308,000 now at time of recording. The deaths ratio has actually gone up a little bit recently. Again, we don't know how accurate this is in terms of total that are going undiagnosed and not tested. Recovery takes a little bit longer, 2 or 3 weeks. You're in hospital in a lot of cases. So we get the deaths before we get the recoveries. That's all to go through the system. But the worrying thing here is that even on the exponential scale, we're now accelerating higher again across Europe, across Australia, across the US. All right, let's go over to China. Another 50% plunge after 44% last month. So these auto sales, a lot of industries are down 90%. There's talk that China's factories and people are going back to work now. We don't know if they're just trying to push out those stats or if that is the truth. I certainly don't believe the numbers. We've seen some photos from hospitals with new cases in China. So they're saying they've got 0 new cases. I'm not sure if I believe that. Secretary Mnuchin, the same guy who said that cash is not used for money laundering, now says that it won't cause a recession in the US. So I'm not sure what he's looking at. But if you have a look at some of these state of the restaurant industry statistics, Australia hasn't been hard hit yet because we're a week or two behind the rest of the world. But globally, restaurants are down 98%. Canada is down 100%. The friends that I talk to that own restaurants and businesses having to fire staff this week, there's just no nice way to put it, guys. This is the reality we face where we have to lock down. And if we do that for a month, that gives us the greatest chance to pull through the other side. 500,000 jobless claims in Canada. I certainly think some of these estimates about unemployment and GDP are going to be around 10% loss. And this is kind of the slack that governments are gradually picking up in terms of the stimulus that they're putting out. Trump looking to give every American $1,000. We've now got similar things in all the different countries. Yeah, I think you have to do it. Some people are going to complain about government debt. That's another issue altogether. They're already running huge deficits, but we've got to make sure that people have food on the table. In the US, some of my friends are telling me that it's worrying over there about how the system is, treating different patients with different healthcare and insurance, and some of the backlogs for just getting those, admissions and claims and whatnot. It's another headache altogether. So if you know more about that, let me know down in the comments below about how that's going to work once those US hospitals start to get busy and people are losing their jobs. New Jersey, the latest one to shut down. I think the total is now around 100 million in terms of Americans that are in lockdown. National Guards deployed because people aren't taking it seriously. Similar over to the UK and Europe now, where British police are giving people powers to detain suspected cases of people that aren't quarantining themselves. And this is where the totalitarian invasion of privacy is beginning. Now, there's all sorts of conspiracy theories going around, but the big tech giants being asked to hand over all our data. Once they do that, there's no going back. I guess that's what worries me. So yeah, they're asking the big tech giants to hand over all this tracking data so they know where you are at every time. Even if you turn your location data off and your phone off, Edward Snowden has told us that these new smartphones, that's why you can't take the battery out, because they're always triangulating your signal to the different cell towers. Now, tying that together with how you can maintain your privacy with a VPN, a peer-to-peer VPN are offering free services. So it's lovely to see all this, communities looking out for each other in this time of need. So Orchard, this is actually a cool little project that I'm going to talk about more in future. Great stuff there. At the Brave browser, if you don't use this already, to block all the ads and to block all the data, it's free to use. Download Brave browser, but they're really taking on the big tech giants with all these privacy issues at the moment. Bank of England have cancelled all their stress tests. Look, all these stress tests don't plan for these sort of situations. So, it's all a bit of a walk in the park, and they tick these boxes and tell the public how strong the banks are. Well, look at them now. They're all getting bailed out, a week into a bear market. Britain, $25,000 to the local businesses there. ECB have got out their bazooka in terms of QE and other stimulus. The stock market has hit record highs in the VIX, closing at 82. So that's perceived volatility from the stock market. They're saying that markets could, currently what they're pricing in is that it could go 82% lower. Now that rarely actually eventuates, but that's just the level of fear at the moment in the S&P 500 in the volatility index. The Lehman playbook continues. So the Fed have unveiled another bailout, this time for the money market funds. The Fed are going to have to bail out everyone. The engineers of the 2009 bailout say that this has to be bigger than the GFC bailout. These numbers are off the charts. Outflows, absolutely everyone is getting out of ETFs, bond funds, the stock market, investment grade bonds. People are just running for the exits and trying to get into US dollars, and there's simply not enough dollars in the world at the moment. That's why the Fed is having to expand their credit and bail out all the different countries, including Australia at the moment. Distressed debt has doubled in the US in 2 weeks, $500 billion now. So this is that spike that they're talking about. The interview with Marin Katusa will be out this week. He's the commodities expert, and a lot of these junk bonds that have been issued by the US oil frackers, shale producers, they can't pay that. They don't have any revenue and positive cash flow. They're going to default on all this debt, and that can start the next wave down in the stock market. So Boeing is just one example of a company that repurchased over $100 billion in stock, and now they've had their debt downgraded. $4.5 trillion worth of buybacks have occurred, and this is what's pushed up stock prices. And now all these US execs are demanding that taxpayer-funded bailouts of shareholders after they've spent all that money buying back shares and making themselves rich. The Fed extending its currency exchange program to all the other central banks around the world. I just mentioned that. Confirmed these theories and these rumors that were going around earlier in the week that the Fed are now bailing out hedge funds. Absolutely crazy stuff, and a lot of people still completely unaware this is happening. Insiders were dumping their stock. So this is Kelly Loeffler, who came out and denied it. She said, her investment fund manager sold all this stock. So the day after they were briefed about how bad things were getting in China and how it was going to affect other countries and come to the US, these, the elites that were in this meeting were all dumping millions of dollars of shares in things like hotels and airline companies and whatnot. So wait to see if that goes to criminal charges. But man, oh man, these people are just so corrupt. So the record number of CEOs left. They saw this coming. 219 CEOs left in January after we already had record amounts in the months leading after that. So the rich that are paying themselves 100, 200, 300 times the salary of the average worker, they've got so much money. They've gone to their private islands or their bunker or whatnot, and they've got out. Privatize the profits, and then I'm stumbling on my words here, guys. Publicize the losses. So get the government to bail you out, taxpayers. So frustrating to watch this happen, and I hope this brings about change. The Bank of Japan have been buying up trillions of dollars worth of yen of stock markets. They own all the ETFs and a lot of shares. They own all the government bonds, and they've lost money doing so. So if this doesn't bring about radical change in our financial system, I just don't know what does. We need a new system, and obviously, hopefully, a lot of the decentralized world, those ledgers that cut out people in the middle and bring about transparency and trust is what we're going to turn to. Couple of positives to finish on. The FDA have authorized these new 45-minute rapid point-of-care tests. We're getting stories that people have, in one case, people have died waiting for test results to come back. There's more tests and newer tests being designed and manufactured in Australia. Hopefully, these things are still a few weeks away. But look, all the smartest minds are out there trying to work on solutions. High hopes for a treatment. We've seen some positive results in a few of these other HIV drugs. I spoke about that in yesterday's video a little bit. So look, these trials are going to take weeks as well. Anti-malaria drugs. There's a few others that have shown benefits. For me, what I recommend you do, I'm going to do a whole whiteboard video about this. But it's just getting your immune system as healthy as you can. Eating healthy, trying to de-stress. I know that's tough at times like this with your meditation or going for a walk or just tuning out at nighttime. Your vitamin C's. Personally, I love eating, the spicy foods, getting your chili, your garlic, Asian food, really healthy style diet, guys. Get your immune system ready to fight off anything that it catches. A lot of jobs are going to come out of this, as well as a lot of job losses. So people are going to all be wanting to get hired at Amazon. Coles and Woolworths are putting on people. I think we're going to see huge demand for extra healthcare workers. Maybe we can do some fast tracking, 1 month basic nursing course, something like that. Just all hands on deck, society coming together, almost like a wartime effort until we beat this. For those of you that are wanting to trade this, just remind you of how risky and how volatile markets are. But if you do want to short the stock market, don't use any leverage or anything like that. It is possible to still make money, but I think for most people now, it's about hedging, whether that's your currency risk, your portfolio, your crypto holdings or whatever. You want to be hedging and protecting your capital. So we've got that $100 free Bitcoin sign up for those of you that are interested in trading. These guys offer that virtual account, and if all you want to do is practice trading in these sort of conditions, that is going to be a lifelong skill for when we have the next market cycle, whether it's 10 or 20 years from now. So look, even a practice account is good for learning while you're at home. Let's get into the crypto news, where Binance and WazirX have announced a $50 million blockchain fund in India. These guys are doing great stuff. They've got a token that's been performing extremely well again of late. So once crypto markets turn around, I think exchange tokens are ones that are going to do well. Ripple have cemented their Asian presence with more partnerships in Thailand, with fintech company D Money there. Cardano in the headlines again. Charles Hoskinson did go live and say this wasn't a big deal. This was an old partner, nothing to worry about, and it's not going to affect the launch of their mainnet, which has been months and years in the making now. So hopefully Shelley does come out soon. The Tezos Foundation has settled a lawsuit for $25 million and saying that they're sick of paying all these legal fees. We know how much lawyers love to charge in the crypto world. We've got Steem, and the community there have actually hard forked the network, and they're relaunching Hive, as they're calling it there, after everything that's been going on with Justin Sun trying to buy out the network. So great to see a decentralized community coming together there. Storage, decentralized cloud storages and computing. I'm very bullish on these type of projects. Their tardigrade upgrade is now live. This is a perfect example of Ethereum being able to have these censorship-resistant file storage. So Chinese journalists are sharing reports on Ethereum because if they tried to share them on the internet, they can get censored and blocked and shut down. So this is the decentralized world in action there. Maker has had its issues this week. The system didn't function as it should because Ethereum got clogged during that huge sell-off. So they had to issue some more Maker tokens, and that is the way the system was designed to function. That was the emergency backstop. Those auctions have all finished now. There were plenty of buyers in the Maker token, and that one has bounced back really well in terms of price after a lot of people were fearful that was the end for the project. With all these issues happening in the world of DeFi at the moment, insurance has never been more important. So Delphi Digital did a great research piece on all the best insurance projects in the world of DeFi. And I've spoken about Nexus Mutual, had them on the channel. Open, I'm going to have those guys on as well. Ether Risk is another one. You can't see behind me there. Some very cool little projects there. So read that report from Delphi Digital. HTC are getting right behind Kyber, and a lot of these smartphone companies are really integrating with crypto wallets and whatnot, so great to see for public awareness. The Ethereum baseline protocol is now open source on GitHub, so this is the protocol for building private systems for corporates and businesses to use the Ethereum public chain while still keeping the data that they need to private using this protocol layer on top of the Ethereum public chain. Open Browser have enabled Apple Pay debit card crypto purchases in the US, so as if they didn't have enough on-ramps already. It's more these developing countries which it's really the rapid expansion of getting the millions or billions of people into the crypto world that I'm excited about. But Coinbase have said that traffic broke records and saw huge volumes during the recent market collapse. So these are very similar to the stories that I've been hearing. Like I spoke about at the start of this video, the website traffic was through the roof. We've had thousands of people and hundreds buy gold and silver and Bitcoin for the first time, because with everything happening, as Raul says here, him and I have been talking every day at the moment, because it's kind of, you need to branch out with so much happening around the world. But in some ways, it's exciting for the Bitcoins and the people that have been expecting this and bunkering down, living within their means and saving, getting into your golds, your silvers, getting out of shares. And if you've been prepared, hopefully there's a lot of good that can come from the bad at the moment when people are losing their jobs. Hopefully the new system, when the dust settles, is going to create a better job and a better quality of life for a lot of these people. That's what I hope can come out of all of this. And I certainly think that decentralized systems are going to play a huge role in all of that. So just quickly looking at the charts here, Bitcoin has had a pretty decent bounce this week. We've got to be careful that this is just a bear flag when we see a huge sharp sell-off like this. But my thoughts that liquidation on BitMEX actually pushed prices a lot lower than they maybe otherwise would have gone if we didn't have that cascade where they had to shut the systems down and other exchanges were getting dragged lower. So there's plenty of healthy buying. Look, gold and silver have not been immune from this either. It's ridiculous to see the price of silver under $12 when you can't get physical silver at basically all bullion dealers around the world. So that is going to break in the coming weeks when people actually buy those futures contracts and they demand delivery at the $12 price. So the paper market is going to break and it's going to come back to the real world price and demand for silver. The same with gold. You've got your digital options. I've done videos on that, guys. Hang in there. I just can't explain how bullish I am with the governments and central banks around the world printing trillions of dollars. What this means for these finite currencies that can't be printed longer term. So hang in there. We're all in this together. Head over to our website to check out our resources. Join up to our community if you want to join the discussion and stay up to date with everything that's happening. Thank you for supporting the channel more than ever, guys. Please smash that like button, subscribe if you haven't already, share these videos around, and I'll talk to you again soon. Cheers.